My regards, friends. Welcome to my channel. I am Alexander Musienko. Today, let's talk about possible internal problems in Russia, because we need to reflect on this, as it is one of the elements that can help us in our situation and bring our victory closer. That is, here we are talking specifically about factors of internal destabilization, particularly in the Caucasus. And the thing is, Ramzan Kadyrov released a video where he just stands there silently while a voiceover says that anyone can get sick, that anyone can go through this path, and that there is no need to fear death or illness. And there are also comments saying that people shouldn't spread rumors and gossip about Kadyrov supposedly being on his deathbed or seriously ill, because that's not true. In reality, it is true, and there is more than one confirmation of this. And if Kadyrov has to justify himself about this quite often, then these rumors are not unfounded at all. What we're talking about is that since 2019, as became known from an investigation by the Russian Nezavisimaya Gazeta, and not only them, but also from other sources, it was revealed that Kadyrov actually developed pancreatic necrosis of the pancreas. This is an acute form of pancreatitis which is very often incurable and can be fatal in 80% of cases. In 2023, Kadyrov disappeared from public view for a long time, and in 2025, just recently, he even admitted the possibility that he might step down as the head of Chechnya. In other words, he himself actually allowed for this possibility. A characteristic feature of Kadyrov's activities, besides his frequent abnormal condition, is that he can basically say anything. Of course, he makes aggressive statements towards Ukraine, enjoys demonstrations and showing off images of his Special Forces University and so on. So recently he started promoting his son, who is just a bit older than a teenager, to various positions in Chechnya. Why did he start doing this? This is probably not accidental either, because in this way he is strengthening the clan-based nature of his own system. After all, it's clear that everything in Chechnya is built on families, on large clans. And by no means does everyone tolerate or accept Kadyrov because of this. And it's obvious that any change of power, any transformations, could lead to serious unrest. They could lead to settling scores, even with weapons in hand, because in principle, those clans that those clans that actually do not accept Kadyrov, well, they might have simply lain low, perhaps just quietly waiting, keeping out of sight. Right now they might be pretending and in principle swearing loyalty to him, not allowing for any scenario at all in which something could happen. But as soon as an opportunity arises, as soon as there is some spark that actually stirs up the situation, everything could immediately go completely differently than the way the Kremlin imagined or would like, or the way Kadyrov, or for that matter his successors, would want. Therefore, it is obvious that the successor program has been launched in Chechnya. Kadyrov wants his clan to remain in power. Most likely the Russian dictator Putin wants the same thing, as he is clearly not interested in destabilizing processes in Chechnya. Returning to the extensive interview with the head of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Ole Ivashenko, which he gave to Ukrinform, there is also a question there about the internal situation in Russia. And Ivashenko allows that, as of today, according to the assessment of Ukrainian intelligence, there is approximately 20% protest potential. That is, about 20% of the population are those who are actually ready to take action, who are ready to protest. Well, accordingly, this is the segment of passionate individuals. I'll tell you, for Russia, that's quite a lot. If these passionate individuals have weapons in their hands, if they have all the means and tools for struggle, they can carry out scenarios, including even attempts to overthrow the Russian government. There definitely weren't 20% Wagner fighters. There were significantly fewer under Prigozhin's command, but we remember that march on Moscow, which, unfortunately, fizzled out. Prigozhin lacked the courage. He didn't see it through to the end, and as a result, he paid for it with his own life. It was only a matter of time before he would be eliminated under such circumstances. So, returning to what the Ukrainian foreign intelligence assesses, there is an understanding that the Caucasus continues to be a region where certain uprisings can flare up, where instability may occur. We remember that there have been incidents in Dagestan and elsewhere when there were signs of armed struggle, when Russian police officers and OMON troops at checkpoints were attacked, and so on and so forth. This is actually an indication that, well, we can observe that there is a certain, in fact, protest potential, and therefore it needs to be stirred up. And it is precisely the possible death of Kadyrov that could trigger this process. In other words, these are the very black swans that could work to our advantage, including destabilizing the Putin regime. As for the Putin regime, is it currently threatened by any uprisings from his inner circle, from his direct partners, whether in business, in terms of making money from energy resources, or now from the military-industrial complex, the economy, and so on? It seems that there are none. He continues to make decisions single-handedly, and it appears that he is being misinformed about much of what is actually happening. Taking advantage of the fact that he cannot control and double-check everything, they try, although he creates the illusion, the impression, and the image that he has everything under control. It's also worth mentioning the possible illnesses of Putin. These have been discussed more than once, and not only by the head of Ukrainian military intelligence, Kyrylo Budanov, but also by our Western partners, in particular the heads of intelligence agencies who actually study many things and specialize specifically in Russia. And they have identified and determined that certain, let's say, gestures and behaviors of the Russian dictator may indicate the presence of illnesses. This includes his well-known habit of pressing against the leg or armrest of a chair, or when he shakes his leg, or his completely subdued state in certain situations. By the way, this is not caused by any external events, obviously, because President Trump has not yet made any decisive decisions and is not currently putting pressure on Russia, although today the Wall Street Journal and some other Western publications have started to write that Trump has finally come around and is considering the possibility of imposing tougher sanctions against Russia. There is such a likelihood in the near future. But in principle, as of today, unfortunately, the United States of America, as the leader of the free Western world, has still not taken sufficient measures to truly and maximally upset Putin. So far, it is Ukraine's defense forces that upset him the most with their successful, skillful, adept and effective actions on the battlefield, preventing Russian troops from achieving operational and strategic superiority. But from the perspective of his frustration, which sometimes occurs, those mood swings and the inability to express certain thoughts, this may indicate certain illnesses or conditions. And let me remind you that not so long ago, President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, stated that Putin will die. Still, we need to understand why, in this war, so much attention is paid to this issue. It's not because, people are harboring some very naive or misleading illusions, but because it could change a lot. Because it could, in many ways, turn the situation upside down. Our strategy is to outlast Putin. This is exactly what we need to prepare for and strengthen ourselves for. Friends, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. Don't forget to like and leave your comments on this video and beyond. Let our wonderful and supportive community of like-minded people continue to flourish and expand. Take care of yourselves, stay safe and healthy, and glory to Ukraine.